guess we can go ahead and get started. It's weird not having the silly antics of Connor here.
I can take my shirt off if that'll help.
I just might like to see that.
Okay.
I'm
gonna go ahead and get the fuck out of here.
I mean, I probably have seen that at some point in time. I don't think we've ever been to the pool together. Maybe we have.
Yeah, we have.
What pool?
There was a pool. It was filled with water, and we were there.
Is that naturally what they do with pools? Is they fill them with water?
I mean, a pool can be filled with a lot of things, like ketchup, or perhaps hot wax. You just dip your entire undercarriage in hot wax.
You jump into the pool.
I can't stop saying hot wax.
Jump into the pool of hot wax and then jump right out and then put some strips on you and then rip that shit off.
And that's how you just keep your skin silky smooth for the summertime months.
Yeah, I mean, it does last longer, but you pay for it in pain.
But beauty is pain. You know, you got if you want to have some super slick thighs, so when you're walking around with them shorts on during the summer, you're just gliding. I think there's no chafage, there's no nothing.
I think who said that? Was it Quentin Tarantino that said that?
I think it was actually Jules Verne.
What about Tim Gunn? Did he say that?
It was definitely Tim Gunn.
I almost said James Gunn because
we were talking about Marvel shit, and
right.
so it's like James Gunn shaves his thighs. Obviously, you can't direct an awesome movie with hairy thighs.
Right. I mean, you gotta have room for leverage and moving around and whatnot.
Okay. I mean, how many times you're squatting down to give the perfect direction?
Right.
You don't want an actor who's maybe doing a death scene where they're laying down. You don't want them looking up in your shorts and going, man, that's like a fucking jungle in there.
You know what I'd like?
You want them to look at that and go, it's like a slip and slide.
I'd like to think that him and what's his name? The real awesome swimmer that swims for our country.
Oh, Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps. I'd like to think that him and Michael Phelps get together and have a waxing party.
That's actually, and they do it in a pool. And Michael Phelps can actually, when it's all over with, after the wax is actually solidified, funny enough, Michael Phelps can actually successfully dive into the wax and swim his ridiculously athletic self through that shit and still break records. That's how he trains. He swims through hot wax.
He doesn't do the whole like ankle weights thing. He just
jumps into a pool of thick, viscous wax.
I'd like to think that's what it's like swimming through like hot lava. Except
actually, I do an impression of swimming through hot lava. Do you want to hear it?
I do.
Okay, it kind of goes like this. That's kind of, and then it's an abrupt end because
scream,
you're dead within seconds.
Right, and then you're just dead.
Not actually swimming.
Right.
You become part of it. Yeah. You should ask Hayden Christensen what he thinks of lava.
I saw this hilarious meme. It was back in February around Valentine's Day, and it was roses are red, circles are round, and then it just had a picture of Obi-Wan
on the high ground.
And it was like, give up, Anakin, I have the high ground. But it didn't have that caption. So you just had to, I saw the picture and I was like, trying to put it together. I was like, ah!
Yeah, there's some deeper meaning to that scene because you watch Anakin burn kind of in the same way as you're watching Hayden Christensen's career go down in flames in the same scene.
And then,
I hate you!
And then,
he's actually screaming at George Lucas for ruining his fucking life.
And then the can't forget the final scene. No!
He's still screaming at George Lucas. You're a terrible director.
That's why he's so pissed at the end of Rogue One.
Oh, he just murks everybody. That's what it was. It's kind of like in The Waterboy where Adam Sandler sees other people's heads on shit.
H2O!
He just sees George Lucas's head on all the rebels as he slaughters them.
Yeah, he just sees a bunch of people that's telling him water sucks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or in that case, you're a grand actor and that take was fine. So right. What are we doing today, man?
All right, so Andrew, I'm so glad you asked. We are doing, first of all, thank you for tuning in, downloading the podcast, whether you're listening to it on your phone or if you've tuned in to Facebook Live. Thank you so much. We are doing episode 7. Today's topic is the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Phase 3.
El Trio, as it's known in some states.
But we're going to be talking about that today, and both of us are super excited because we are both big Marvel fans as well as just huge nerds, obviously, because that's the name of the fucking podcast.
What are you even doing here if you don't know that?
Right, yeah. I mean, that kind of goes without saying, so... But before we do that, we are going to do our regular intro segment of Nerdy News Update. Mm-hmm. Andrew, would you like to go first?
I would. I absolutely would.
What is your Nerdy News Update for this episode?
There's a dope-ass second trailer for SpiderMan Homecoming.
Spider-Man!
And it's so good. I love it. It shows more of Vulture, which I really liked.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Michael Keaton's a bad motherfucker, man.
He is terrifying. Overall, I don't want to encroach on your time here, but overall, the tone of this trailer was much, I guess a little bit darker than the first one.
Oh, well, then the first one was very much, yay, Spider-Man.
Yeah, like, hey, you're getting a new Spider-Man movie, and this one is like, actually, there's some shit that's gonna go down. So
I see this movie being pretty balanced between. I mean, I assume the first, let's just say, act of the movie
is gonna
be very fun and positive,
happy-go-lucky.
and he's doing the Spider-Man thing because in this version, it's kind of a restart for Spidey. I mean, he is brand new as Spider-Man, and in this version,
and thank God for no fucking death of Uncle Ben. Again.
We already know that happened. It's all good.
Yeah,
How many times are you going to shoot that poor son of a bitch?
How many times are you going to go out for
Martha?
Sorry.
Chocolate I was thinking of someone else.
How many times are you going to go try and buy milk and then end up having your uncle shot?
With great power comes great. Okay, yeah, a responsibility. I get it.
Yeah, I get it. Let's wrap this
up. Can you just
up.
go ahead and fucking die?
So we can do this movie again.
But it shows, and I really dig that. More and more, you're seeing how Spider-Man's suit in this one is very technologically driven.
Yes,
and obviously, a lot of his stuff came from Tony Stark in this version, which I thought was a very neat change for the movie version versus what the old comics were. In comics, he made his fucking suit.
Yeah, I've always really enjoyed all the Spider-Man movies, even the ones with the. Like, even Spider-Man 3, I enjoyed the hell out of that movie. Yes,
all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and go. No, I'm sorry.
But
I hate Spider-Man 3.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed all the Spider-Man movies, and Tony Stark / Iron Man is my favorite Avenger. So having him in this movie really just, like, put the cap on that awesome cake right there.
It's neat to have him be a mentor to him and be, showing him how to invent different things, even though Peter himself is already a genius person. But
to have two geniuses, one a little bit older and one really young, it's going to be very cool and entertaining and funny watching the dynamic between these two. So I hope.
But definitely check out the trailer. It'll get you all excited.
Yeah, it just dropped this morning, I believe, or late last night. One of those two, but. I saw it, and I was equally as impressed. So, yeah, if you haven't gotten a chance to see it, go see it and enjoy.
It's pretty great.
For my nerdy news update is also another trailer. It released, I guess, late last week, I believe, maybe this weekend. It was the second trailer to was it the second trailer or the first?
It's the second one.
For Justice League, which we will get. Do you know when it's coming out? It's fall, right?
I don't remember, but
I think it's in the fall, like September, October, November, sometime around there. But yes, I loved it. I love what they had to show us. Of course, just like everyone else that goes to see the DCEU movies, I do have some reservations and some concerns. One thing that kind of happened, the same thing that happened with Batman versus Superman. When I saw the trailer, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And then, of course, the movie came out, and I personally enjoyed the movie. Yes, I admit that there was some shortcomings. I mean, there's no getting around that, and we don't have time to discuss that.
That's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, that's we just do an episode on like talking shit about that, but we won't. But I am a little concerned that maybe they showed us, like they did the same, they did the thing with Suicide Squad where they basically showed us all the best parts of the movie in the trailer.
I thought that as well, but I will say this. I mean, my reaction to the Batman versus Superman trailer when I first saw it was already concerning. I was already like, this just looks super not fun. And every single trailer kept that theme.
Right.
And then I saw the movie and I fucking hated it. Like, I just hated Batman versus Superman. I like Ben Affleck as Batman.
Yeah, that's one thing that I always bring up is that the number one concern that everyone had with that movie
wasn't even the problem.
Wasn't even the problem with that movie.
I mean, again, I'm not going to go into that.
Right.
This movie looks fun. It looks I totally dig how they've lightened Batman up at least a little bit.
Yeah.
To where he's not just always
dark
Martha,
and brooding.
Martha.
Right.
Why did you say Martha?
I mean, he is always like, the dark anti-hero.
Of course, he's going to be that, but
he's basically inspired by the heroic acts of Superman and how
badass and hilarious is Aquaman.
He is hands down one of the biggest things that I'm waiting for this movie. I cannot wait
him
to
being
see
on top of the Batmobile with
and
his fucking
flying,
friend and then getting shot off of it.
Oh my god! Like my fucking head exploded when I saw
And I really
that
hope
shit.
that there's just again, like you said, I hope they didn't pull a Suicide Squad and show us all the good shit. And that's a little scary.
Yeah, I'm hoping this isn't the optimistic part of my brain firing off here, but I really don't think so because I mean it's going to be a longer movie. It'll probably at least be 2.5 hours long. So I'm assuming that there's way more to it than that.
Do you bleed? Do you bleed? Yes, I fucking do. You bleed? Sorry, old habits die hard.
Do you bleed?
Sorry, my voice was being weird. I'm Batman. Bruce, are you okay? Yes.
What is that? Is that Jim Carrey playing the Riddler,
God,
playing Batman?
I didn't even think about that. That's insane.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
I can't do it. Anyway, yeah, that movie looks like it's gonna be way better than what we've gotten out of the DC universe thing.
Yeah,
so that's
of
fun.
course it's still concerning that what's his name is directing it.
Snyder.
Yeah, Zack Snyder. I mean.
I think someone needs to give him a fucking hug because all of his movies are like that.
Yeah.
Martha! Sorry. I can't stop.
Okay, so
Cool.
yeah, I guess we'll...
Yay comic book movies.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the ones that we were going to talk about.
Right. So we're going to dive right into MCU's Phase 3, our topic for today. Mm-hmm. Basically, we have a bunch of talking points. And we're not comic book gurus when it comes to this. So as far as like the speculation of what we might see with the movies that haven't come out yet, like the next
Captain Marvel or
and the next Avengers movie, everything that we talk about for the future movies, it's all going to be speculation because both Andrew and I didn't. I mean, did you do a whole lot of comic book reading?
No. I mean,
I'll
be honest with you. Like once. I think my interest, like I used to watch all the animated stuff. Like I watched the SpiderMan TV show and the X-Men TV show.
Yeah,
and
I watched all that.
But like I wasn't going to the store and buying comic books all the time. I had some.
Yeah.
Where most of my knowledge came later, honestly, when I got into high school and honestly in the first couple years of college where I would go to like Books A Million and get, or even just like the library and get like the fucking anthologies or
like
whatever.
the hardback.
And I would read through a lot of that.
Right.
Or I would get like the Marvel Encyclopedia. Or just simply go on the internet and just read, because like I would get, what is this character about? And I would just dive into their thing.
Right.
That's what I did.
Yeah, and so take what we say with, I mean, not necessarily with a grain of salt, but like, hey, we're just speculating. And also, if we say something that's kind of hitting close to maybe what might come, let us know if you think that, hey, you're onto something there because you have read the comic books. Please feel free to comment or shoot us an email or whatever you want to do. But our first topic, we're basically going to talk about the movies that have come out so far in Phase 3, which is actually just 2 movies, and it's Captain America Civil War and Doctor Strange. So
I have a huge problem with Civil War.
it wasn't
Right off the rip.
there-
Where's the Confederate Army at?
there wasn't enough goddamn people in this
There wasn't
movie.
nearly enough comic book characters in that movie. I'm kidding. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that we had planned to talk about, was how all these movies now, even Captain America Civil War, it's not even an Avengers movie, but there was so many characters in it.
Might as well have been an Avengers movie.
Right. It was basically Avengers 2.5. Yeah. That's one of the things that Marvel is doing right. They're able to handle all these characters in one movie and still give them their own time.
If you want to see how that is done improperly, watch Spider-Man 3 by Sam Raimi. It's not good, and there's too many characters in it. But what's funny is, then you watch the Avengers or Captain America Civil War, and you don't feel the same.
Right. Exactly.
Civil War was able to bring all these even more characters. I mean, probably the most that we've had so far into one movie. It was the biggest collection.
Because we were minus Hulk and Thor.
Right, but so that they added in like Ant-Man and fucking Winter Soldier and Falcon
True.
Spider-Man, Vision.
Okay.
Everyone. And so that movie was able to give just that fantasy of like, what if this happened, and threw everybody in there without making it a mess.
Right.
And I thought that was really good, because the central plot of it was still a Captain America movie. Captain America was the main character of that film. So you weren't just trying to follow, let's try to follow 12 people on this zany adventure. No, it's Captain America is dealing with this shit, and then, oh wait, there's all these other people involved.
Right.
And very, 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 very well done.
I wrote down a couple things that I really enjoyed about Civil War. The first thing that I wrote down was, and we will go into spoilers, so if you haven't seen it,
sorry,
pause the podcast, go watch Civil War,
and then come back.
Actually, go fuck yourself if you haven't seen this movie. Just shoot yourself in the foot, and then while you're in the hospital getting your foot fixed, watch the movie.
You'll have time.
And then come back and listen to the podcast, or just listen to the podcast and have it spoiled for you. Anyways, one of the things that I really liked about Civil War was, and this is kind of a weird small thing, but the twist at the end when you found out
about his parents.
Because that was something that I was always curious about, and I'm not exactly sure. We might have discussed this on the show already, but I wasn't exactly sure what happened to his parents and whether this twist at the end, which of course was Tony Stark finding out at the very end that Winter Soldier was sent on a mission. He was taken out of frozen carbonite and sent on a mission to kill his parents and take the shit that they had in the trunk. I don't know if that's actually what happened in the comic books, or they just threw that in the movie to be part of the MCU. But either way, that twist at the end was fucking fantastic.
Whether or not it was in the comics or not, it made sense for the continuity that was established for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I look at the MCU as its own comic book series. So anything they do in it,
I think that's exactly how it should be looked at. Like I think it's kind of the same thing with Game of Thrones right now. I mean, I know Game of Thrones is not what we're talking about, but it's a good example for what you just talked about, is that the first season matched really well with the first book. But after that, it kind of deviated into its own thing, and now you can't even watch Game of Thrones and compare it to the books anymore, because one, the books haven't caught up with the show, and two, they just kind of have gone off and done their own thing, but it's still doing really well as its own separate entity.
When you have that freedom to just make a story,
right?
And then with the group of people that are involved in creating all those stories for Marvel,
they know what the fuck they're talking about.
They're just coming up with good shit,
right?
You know, I mean, having that happen, because when I'm going into this movie, you're like, what's gonna make Captain America and Iron Man fight like that? And once that, the first part of it just being the different sides of that document that they were on, you know, the Superhero Registration Act and everything, that's straight out of the comics. But I kind of thought it was awesome that they had Winter Soldier do that, and then that way Iron Man's like, well, fuck him, I'm gonna kill his ass, and then Captain America understands, well, shit, that wasn't him. He's completely fucking brainwashed. Like, he's at this point simply a vessel for Hydra's bullshit.
I don't care. Know? He killed my mom.
Yeah, just that. Like, I can understand both points. Like, if that was my mom, like, yeah, dude's gonna die, you know? And then you're gonna, obviously, Cap is in his way. And so that created a real conflict. I'm like, okay, good. Now we don't have a story problem.
And,
you
and
know?
that last scene though, when
the last
three of them
fight, ridiculous, ridiculous.
Like my favorite part was when Iron Man like was able to identify his fight patterns and then fight back. Because I mean, it was 2 against 1. I was like, how the fuck is he gonna come out of this alive? And then he pulled that shit, and I was like, oh, fucking Iron Man and his technology.
Yeah. And then Cap still beats the shit out of him at the end of everything.
Yeah, that was like an upside for Iron Man for like 2 seconds.
He's like, oh, I can see your shit. He's like, I'm stronger than you.
Fuck off, Stark.
Fuck off, Stark. I'm a war hero.
Right. The second thing that I had down was is something that we already kind of briefly touched on, was balancing out all the characters.
Yeah.
You know, they've just done a really good job of, you know, having just so many characters in one movie and being able to not overwhelm the viewer, be like, oh my God, there's so many people, just trying to keep your head from exploding.
They use it as a good launching point for Black Panther and for Spider-Man.
Yes,
as well.
that's also a great point, is that this movie, it's almost like a funnel where like all these separate movies, you know, they kind of lead either to the Avengers or to, in this case, Civil War, and then they kind of come up with all these new stories for the new for their
new friends.
For you know, for the Black Panther movie, or for you know, the next Captain America if we get one, or the next Thor movie, whatever. So yeah, that's a good point. And then the third thing that I had was introducing the difficult decision that each Avenger had to face, which of course was whether they wanted to sign the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah, which is in the comics called the Superhero Registration Act.
Right, but of course in the movie it's called that. But I liked how some of the characters, obviously Stark, you know, has a very firm stance. Doesn't question anything.
And I'm going to compliment them again on how they did this.
Yeah.
Tony Stark's attitude the entire time we've known him has been very. I mean, he's been given a middle finger to the government the entire time. So I was really, since nothing else had really been established up to that point, because I'm thinking, like, how are they going to get him to even want to sign that?
Yeah, I was very interested in that
So throwing in that scene at the beginning where the mother was pissed off at him for her son dying over there when they were fighting Ultron, it brought in that point of like, well, how many other casualties are happening when the superheroes are fighting people? Like, normal ass people are dying when they're being hailed as heroes. Like, well, there's also some collateral damage as well. And that, to me, okay, that struck with Tony, and that's why Tony was like, we gotta fucking like knock this shit off. You know? And so I'm glad they did that, because going up to the whole time, I'm like, why would he, in this version,
Yeah,
pick
it almost would make sense for there to not be two sides. It would just be like
them versus the government.
Yeah, that's it. Like, mentally, you're like, why would anyone want to sign this thing? Especially Stark. But it's almost been a slow phase of him coming out of his old persona, starting from Iron Man 1, where he comes back after being captured. And he shuts down the weapons industry of Stark, and so ever since then we've kind of been seeing this slow, gradual change where he's still very much into himself, but he obviously cares very much about
he's a more responsible version, maybe.
Right. He's like, you know, sort of grown up, you know, Stark, basically. That's kind of one of the things that I liked about Civil War, was that how Stark had his strong stance, and then Cap, he obviously had his strong stance, but there was those other characters in between, like Wanda. She was wavering there. Who else kind of had a wavering stance?
Okay, so Vision went with it right away because he just felt it was the responsible thing to do, and he's Mr. Goody Two Shoes anyway.
He's basically like electronic version of Spock.
Yeah, and then, you know, obviously Spider-Man did it because he's just following what Tony said, and Tony told him to. So there you go. And then, of course, Rhodey's going to go with it because, you know, War Machine's going to go with it because
he's with the government
with
already.
the government, and he's Tony's friend. And then Black Panther was just pissed off at Winter Soldier and Captain America in a way. So he really didn't. I don't think he was so much as into the Accords as he was. I mean, obviously his poor father died,
right.
so he had that little bit of a personal thing. But I don't think he was as much into this Accords as he was just in for revenge for his dad.
So I guess there wasn't really a whole lot of characters that weren't sure.
Well, but they were all. I think they were more afraid of like what that was going to do to each other because they were all allowed to have differences of opinion and shit like that. And even Captain America thought about it for a second, but then he was like, "No, fuck this. This is not the right way to go about this." And then obviously, Hawkeye and Black Widow was on the superhero registration side with her. It was odd that she was, but obviously then she turned coats, the way that she does.
Right.
So she was going to get what she wanted regardless of
whatever. She's always looking out for her own
great.
interests.
I love her.
Yeah, she's pretty great.
No, I love her. But
it's real. It's deep.
Anyway, yeah, the tearing apart of the team and establishing, which is the point I was going to make going into the rest of our discussion of the rest of these Phase 3 films, is Captain America Civil War being the launching point for the state of affairs and the state of the universe. Because, okay, so going into everything following this movie, because now we have to get to Avengers Infinity War. We have to get there. That's the next, yay, we're all back together again movie. So, where are we? Oh, well, we have to break the team up somehow and make that a conflict. So how they handled that, and then how the movie ends with there being at least a glimmer of hope.
Right.
That Cap and Iron Man are going to kiss and make up.
Right. I was actually a little surprised to see that glimmer of hope. I thought it was just going to end. It would just be very, very rocky, and there was going to be no, any sort of hint at kiss and make up action.
I'm also interested to see what they do going forward because they didn't kill Captain America in this movie.
Right. I did read an interesting, I don't know if it was a blog post or what, but it was shortly after that movie came out where someone said, I too am concerned that they didn't kill off Captain America. And then someone came in and commented on that saying that kind of metaphorically on some different level killed Captain America.
Okay, I can
because
see that.
He throws down his shield.
He's done.
He surrenders his identity as Captain America.
Yeah, he's just Steve now.
And he's just Steve.
Oh man.
Let me tell you something. Yeah. And so he's just Steve now. And someone basically said that was symbolically Captain America dying.
So the persona has been shed.
So and argue
because he can't stand behind what America's doing
right.
with this thing.
So you could make the argument if Marvel decides to not kill him off in the future, actually kill him off, one could make the argument that was the moment that Captain America died, quote unquote.
That's a decent point.
So yeah, you could take that into consideration. So I guess we can either talk about this now or later, but I also had down maybe talk about our personal stance on whether if we were Avengers, what side would you choose, or maybe if really it isn't that simple. Me, I'll dive right in. In this particular situation, I'm more pragmatic, meaning I really don't know which side I'd choose.
Yeah,
I very much enjoy hearing both sides because both are very good points. Signing the Accords means you're basically held responsible, which you kind of should be because
it also made them agents of the government, though.
Right,
and
that's also the bad thing, and Captain America was willing to accept the fact that there's going to be casualties, and he was the strongest person to accept that fact because he's both him and Bucky were really the only ones that saw war, with the exception of Rhodey. Mm-hmm. So there's also that. So me personally, even though I'm the one who came up with this fucking question, I don't know which side I'd choose.
No, that's fine.
I honestly think that it's not as easy as choosing a side. I think that there's merits to both arguments, so I don't know which side I'd choose.
I wouldn't sign it.
No?
Nope. Fuck that.
I'm leaning towards not signing it also. If I had fucking either superpowers or super intelligence to create superpowers, I'd probably give the government two middle fingers as well.
Come get some. That's kind of how I would.
Right.
But the thing is like
I got Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary waiting for you right here.
his Captain America's point was very valid. It was like, no, hold on a second. We understand that there's going to be casualties. We are now fighting a threat that is beyond anything that the United States government or the world, the governments of the world can handle.
Yeah.
So that being said, why can't you, everyone else that's not superpowered, understand that shit's crazy and you need us to be able to operate and take care of shit? I'm not doing bad shit, but bad shit can happen sometimes. Like, I didn't plan for Ultron to take a gigantic continent and try and throw it on top of the fucking world, okay? But you know what? Next time that happens, we'll make sure we ask your permission first before we go fucking take care of it. No. Is it okay if we go save the world? I'm sorry, you're breaking up. Oh, the White House is gone. Oh, what's that? Loki he's back and he's just fucking everything? Oh, okay. Oh, Thanos is here. I'm leaving. Like, that's why his point was like, are you all idiots? Like, yes, we are all insanely different types of powers and intelligence and whatever, but why are we making this so cut and dry of, oh, you need to be held accountable and the government's got to get involved? Yeah, because that fucking fixes everything.
Right.
No, how about this? You understand that shit's crazy, and we understood it before you did, so we've saved the world like 1,000 times now. Fuck you.
Right.
That's kind of, and that's why I would be that side of just, no. No, I'm not signing shit.
For sure.
You know? What are you going to do? Write me up?
So we spent like an hour already talking about Civil War. Let's
Move into the other ones?
move into Doctor Strange, which
Sure.
is the second and it's only the second movie that we've gotten from Phase 3. Andrew, what did you think of?
I thought it was great.
We really haven't talked about Doctor Strange, which is great because this makes for a great organic conversation
Sure.
right now.
It can be real.
Right.
Anyway, I loved the casting of Benedict Cumberbatch, and he did a great job. His performance was great. He was endearing. He was funny when he was kind of a douchebag, at the beginning of the movie. Well, he was kind of a douche the whole time, but like a good kind. But when before his hands broke, and he was very much a narcissist and thought he was on top of the world and everything. I just loved how he talked. I loved his whole way he portrayed that character. And then once he got hurt and everything, his obsession and how he portrayed his I have to be able to get better. I have to be able to, and the lengths that he went to that ends up leading him into like, oh wait, actually there's fucking magic, that, and how he's able to use his gifts as a very intelligent person and as a doctor to succeed as a sorcerer. I mean, granted, that's just the underlying point of Doctor Strange in general, but his portrayal of that, how he's reading all the books and getting really good, I loved that story. And Doctor Strange was another hero that I was very unfamiliar with going into.
Me too.
I
knew next to nothing about Doctor Strange.
I knew about Doctor Strange because of Marvel vs. Capcom, the video game.
Okay.
Because Dormammu is one of the bad guys in the third one, and yeah, like
Isn't Dormammu just a giant face?
Dormammu can take physical form as well. They just chose he's
just a giant
He's a
face.
very powerful being.
He's basically like Space Zordon.
Yeah, but bad. Yeah. Anyway, I liked that. I liked anytime they brought in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the way that Guardians of the Galaxy brought us space and the interstellar cool shit. Doctor Strange brought magic now. We have actual magic and spells and spell books. That's fucking awesome.
I don't want to say that this movie went underappreciated because
no, it did well.
I think that it just didn't get talked about a whole lot because by now we've just had so many Marvel movies and it's so weird to have a new character introduced in Phase 3 because we've had like so many characters introduced to us so far, and for me it was weird / interesting to have a new character introduced at this point in time. But I had a lot of fun with this character. You were saying stuff about how he wanted to learn magic to fix his hands, and then he learned that, hey, I can basically bend realms and, you know, do all this crazy
This is way
shit.
better than surgery.
And but what made it fascinating, what made that story fascinating in that movie was that he's knowing all that, he still struggled with the decision of like, hey, even though I know all that, I can do all this crazy shit, it's still very tempting to go back to my life that I know and love and I worked so hard for.
And he chose to not do that.
And it made me respect him as a comic book hero and as a character in the movie, and just an overall individual. Like, made me respect him more for that because, I mean, that's not a fucking easy decision. To put away a life you worked so hard for, to take on a life that like 2 days ago you didn't know existed. But yeah,
and there was some serious trippy effects in that movie that I just thought was so cool.
Did you see the shooting stars meme for that?
So
that
perfect.
they put it to that scene.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
But I'm interested to see now. You know, after that movie was over, I was just excited that okay, so now he can go and fight Thanos with the rest of them.
Yeah.
That's fucking great.
Yeah.
You know, like I have a thought of like maybe him and
Guardians.
Well, that's yeah, but like I'm talking like him and like
Thor.
What's her fucking? Okay, stop.
I'll shut up now.
Scarlet Witch, like just magic destroying people.
Oh God,
you know, like just going to town.
That'd be awesome if they just fell in love and like yeah.
Well, she's always in love with Vision though. Vision's her dude.
Okay.
That's a thing.
Yeah. Cool.
Doctor, I don't know.
That's also fine by me.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Doctor Strange, super cool. And then it brought us another Infinity Stone, which we'll get more into later. But
right.
Yeah. So after was there more on Doctor Strange you want to
I think that's just about it. Like I love the movie, but it wasn't. It's probably one of my least favorite of the Marvel movies. But in the same way that the Animal Kingdom of the Disney parks is my least favorite park.
Good job. It's still great.
Because it's still fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
And it makes you cry when you think about the first time you went there. Mm-hmm. It's just not as fantastical as the other parks.
Did you know that it's open like really late now?
Yeah.
Like it actually
so you can go on night safaris.
Hours. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So it elevated itself a little bit. And they have the whole Avatar thing there now. So,
is it open?
I don't know if it is, but it's going to be soon.
Okay.
So
right on.
One thing I wanted to jump about Doctor Strange again is we're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy also. I loved Doctor Strange so much, and I loved Guardians of the Galaxy so much because they were my two least. I was the least informed and the least knowledgeable about both of those characters and what they do. I should say there's several characters in Guardians, but I'm just saying all those movies were great to me because I'm just going there like I don't know what the fuck is going to happen, and it was refreshing because I had nothing to compare it to.
Yeah,
and I really enjoyed that.
No,
and so
both of these movies really knocked it out of the park as far as bringing you into their world and kind of letting you know from. I guess an outsider's perspective or just someone who isn't familiar with the comic books.
And I bet that there's so many people. I mean, that's got to be a challenge for Marvel Studios in general is how the fuck do we get people to care about the Guardians of the Galaxy in the same way they care about Iron Man?
Right.
You know, you say the word Spider-Man or Captain America or Iron Man or Hulk, you just kind of already know just from a basic ass pop culture person, you know what they're about.
Right.
You say Guardians of the Galaxy and say Groot and Star-Lord. I'm like, what? You know, I didn't know what that was. And so I remember when they announced Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, me neither.
And it ends up being the fucking most hilarious, endearing,
one
of the best parts of it. So yeah,
we'll put the conversation about Guardians on hold for right this second because I actually have it as one of our talking points. Yeah. So moving on, so these are the Phase 3 movies in, I believe I put them in order. Yeah, that are coming out either this year or to completion for Phase 3. In May, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, SpiderMan Homecoming, which I believe is in July. Of course, we talked about the fucking awesome trailer that we got to see this morning Thor Ragnarok, which I believe is in November. Black Panther, which I am personally very excited for, which is, I believe, next
2018.
next February, so about a year from now. But yeah, I'm excited for that, mainly because I'm going into it just like Doctor Strange, where I really don't know a whole lot about it, so I'm looking forward to diving into their world, and also the fact that basically everyone except for Martin Freeman is black in that cast. Like, I mean, I don't want to get all like,
Sure.
Political here, but I mean, it's fucking Black Panther, so it should be an all
Africa.
black
Duh.
cast, right?
Yeah, Wakanda, really, but yeah.
And they got a black director.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that, and I know that sometimes Marvel comes under fire for a little bit of whitewashing. Sometimes they do awesome shit like this, but I know whitewashing is a huge issue in Hollywood right now, so at least Marvel is doing things like this to kind of try and make up for the fact that is happening.
And I don't even think it's something like that. I mean, like, they just looked at, okay, this is what the subject matter is. Like, let's get some like awesome people to make the thing. And I think it's really neat that that's the route that they went with it.
Right.
So.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's February, and then right after that is Avengers Infinity War, and then after that is Ant-Man and the Wasp, which will be awesome and hilarious, I'm sure. Captain Marvel, which didn't they get Brie Larson to play Captain Marvel?
She's Carol Danvers.
Very excited about that. Captain Marvel, I also is.
I don't know shit about her.
No, but
that'll be great.
Yeah, because Brie Larson is real pretty.
Yeah, she's great.
And then after that, we'll wrap up Phase 3 with the Untitled Avengers film. We were actually talking about this earlier before the podcast, that if you don't know, it was supposed to be Avengers Infinity War Part 1, and then a couple movies, and then Part 2. Well, apparently, according to the internet, there's no Avengers Infinity War Part 2 anymore. It's just Avengers 4 Untitled. So if you happen to have any idea why it's untitled and would like to fill us in, please feel free. If you don't, that's also cool. You can join us on the unknown bandwagon. So yeah, that's what's going to round out Phase 3. And it's actually the longest running phase so far. Phase 1 and 2, they only had 6 movies each. And this one has 10, so it's a long phase, but it's cool because we're tackling a lot of characters. We've introduced a lot of characters, and there's a lot of storylines to cover, a lot of ground to cover. So it's cool that they're kind of parsing out
David,
a little bit. Do we
Connor's commenting?
Oh my god. He's probably in the fucking break room like those fucking losers.
Yeah, right.
If you haven't noticed, we didn't even mention. Oh yeah, we did kind of mention that Connor wasn't here. But yeah, Connor's
Is he
out.
not?
He's at.
Oh.
Whoa, fuck! Connor's not here. Fuck!
I just think he is human garbage.
No, Connor's he's dead. Actually, he's yeah. No, he's at work. And I guess he's like watching us on break or some shit. I don't know.
Look, I'm here. He's still commenting.
That's ridiculous bastard.
I'm here. Turn around is what he said.
Turner. All right.
Oh my god.
Let's talk about the Russo brothers.
Okay.
You want to talk about them?
Yeah.
And those magnificent bastards.
God, they make everything better.
So basically the Russo brothers, the first movie that they did for the MCU was Captain America Winter Soldier, correct?
Yeah, and that movie's awesome. It's still one of my favorite ones.
Yes, totally a step up from Captain America the First Avenger.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that movie, but when that movie came out, it was my least favorite.
It's okay.
It's still in the same realm
some of those first Phase 1 character movies were very much like, let's just get those done so we can get to Avengers.
Right.
That's kind of what it was.
Yeah, it kind of had that feel to it. They had to do Captain America's origin story, basically. But then, of course, the Russo brothers stepped in for the Winter Soldier.
Oh, yeah, Winter Soldier. Yep.
And then, of course, they came back to do Civil War. And now they have signed on.
They're doing Infinity War.
And they signed on to do Infinity War. I don't know if they have signed on to do Avengers 4 or not.
Let them do all of them. Give them a Star Wars movie.
Right.
Fuck it.
Let them direct everything until the end of
God.
time.
It's been freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like and I honestly, I'm gonna sit here. I don't know the history of the Russo brothers. Or
I don't
anything
either.
like that, but just ever since those dudes have taken the reins of Captain America and then now the Avengers, it's just you can just tell the difference. It's I liked Winter Soldier, that movie, better than the first Avengers movie. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like
Right.
it's so much better. And then Civil War was better than Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Just hands
definitely.
fucking down.
Yeah.
You know? And so I'm like, okay, you're 2-0 so far. And then now they just like, okay, they beat the shit out of both Avengers movies, so just fucking give them the third one. Fuck it. Like
Right.
that's what happened. And it's I expect more of the same.
I'm very excited to see the rest. While we're on the subject of, I mean, since we really don't know a whole lot about the Russo brothers, we don't want to be like, try and dive into territory that we're not
I
familiar
can make the
with.
point of like they at least it seems like they know how to do ensemble films
Yes.
quite well.
Yeah,
and
that's
give each character their due.
right.
You know?
Because that's very important. I mean, when you
So.
have ensemble films, you don't want to try and leave characters out because you're like, hey, you included Black Widow in this movie, but she didn't have any fucking lines. All she did was dance around with knives the whole time.
Yeah, nope, she kicked ass and she said things.
Yeah, she did both of those things.
Yep.
As far as other directors, I almost said Tim Gunn.
You're so
Avengers, make it work.
make it work.
Make it work.
Here's your Iron Man suit. Put it on. Get the metal going, and just start kicking ass.
James Gunn coming in and fucking directing the shit out of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. And I'm expecting the same caliber and better from Volume 2. Just nailing the shit out of all the casting. Like he, I don't know if you knew this, but he didn't want to cast Chris Pratt right away for Star-Lord. Like he, Chris Pratt wanted to come in and interview, or not. I've been saying fucking audition for Star-Lord /
Peter Quill.
Thank you. And he didn't want to see him, but I think something happened. He ended up seeing him and said that it was one of the best decisions he's ever made. And he's just talked about how much he's enjoyed seeing him grow as an actor, thanks to this movie and then all the other movies that he's been in, since he's exited Parks and Rec. So
Dude's hilarious.
Yeah. He's everyone that was cast. Dave Bautista as Drax is I think he is my favorite character.
Really? That's fair. I mean, he's hilarious.
I mean, like Star-Lord is fucking fantastic, obviously, but Drax, like his one-liners, like finger to the throat means death. Like when he rips the fucking mask off of what's his name?
Ronan?
No, it's the black dude that wears he kind of looks like.
Was it the guy that Peter ran away with
at the
beginning?
Yeah,
okay, I don't remember that guy's name, but he just kicks that dude's ass.
Yeah, he just he's like fingered because
why would I run my finger across my throat?
No, like finger.
No, his lack of understanding anything and being the way that he's so literal is awesome.
Right, and Gamora going, nothing goes over his head, nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too quick. I would catch it. And then I don't know if this is my favorite line, but it's way up there when Peter comes back. He's like, "You've returned," and it shows him that he went back for his cassette tape, and he's like, "You imbecile!"
Imbecile, yeah. Yeah, what he went for must have been grandly important. And then you should, you imbecile.
You're an imbecile.
Yeah.
And then it just him and the fucking trailer for the new one. You just unveiled your deepest, darkest secrets. You must be so embarrassed. Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah, I can't wait to see more of that guy.
I'm a Rocket Raccoon person. I just love him.
He's also fantastic.
And I like how it's not just Bradley Cooper talking. It's putting on a character.
If you didn't tell me that it was voiced by Bradley Cooper, I would not think that it was Bradley Cooper. I'm not always for popular actors doing voice acting work. I mean, I think that should go to people that specialize in voice acting. But I understand that
He does a great job.
Yeah, it's fucking fantastic. And the fact that Vin Diesel recorded "I Am Groot" in like, what was it, like 37 different languages?
He did it something crazy.
Yeah, it was an insane amount of languages so that they could use his actual voice in the overseas versions when they.
Oh, it's great.
When they had to do the dubbed over stuff. So that was awesome.
James Gunn, though. Just doing, and isn't it his brother that's the guy that is with
Tim Gunn?
Yondu, not Tim Gunn, but no, Yondu's like skinnier friend guy, because that dude also did all the mocap for Rocket Raccoon. Like Yondu with
right.
Okay, his sidekick
right.
who talks a little bit. That's Tim Gunn. God damn it, James Gunn's brother.
Okay, I think I knew that.
He
was on.
I
think he was on the Gilmore Girls.
Okay, I wouldn't know.
I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about. I'm pretty sure.
But he did all, again, like they used. So not only did he do, like he was the Andy Serkis of this movie. Like he was the one in the little suit with all the little balls on it and shit, and like doing Rocket Raccoon. So they had somebody to act to, and then they also just put him in the fucking movie as a character just to do that. So.
I love like, according to the trailer, I mean this might not be so, but I love how it seems like Yondu has they've joined forces again.
Still a douchebag though.
I'm sure he's still an ass, and I'm sure they're still fighting with each other.
Yeah. I'm glad
for giving him
God, it was dad. That man was a jackass.
For giving him a fucking troll instead of the Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
But he had that big smirk at the end. So
I also like his whistling scene where he sends the arrow through all those things. Just fuck yeah, that whole thing. Well, and then
I was looking at. I was like, your weapon, your bad boy weapon is a single arrow. Like that's kind of weak. But then he uses it at the very end, and I was like, oh, so it's actually it does all that. Okay.
You brought a spaceship down. All right.
Right.
Cool.
He fucked shit up with
Merle.
the single arrow, right?
Fucking Merle.
Daryl doing the ugly cry. Merle.
Goddamn. What else you got?
Next thing I had was the Thor movies. I wanted to touch just a little bit on how I know that we haven't gotten a Thor movie for Phase 3 yet, but wanted to touch just shortly on the fact that I personally love both 1 and 2 of the Thor movies, and I know that a lot of people really enjoyed the first one, and then not a whole lot of people enjoyed the second one. I know, Andrew, you're kind of in that same camp of...
It wasn't as crazy. Like, I didn't hate it. Let me backtrack.
Right.
I didn't hate the movie.
Yeah.
And kind of the way that you said you have a least favorite Marvel movie, like I just compared to everything else that they did, I didn't like that one.
And that's understandable.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, just his humor as Thor mixed with I don't know, Natalie Portman doing Jane, and then what's her name that plays is her name Kat, or is
remember,
the actress's name Kat?
She
plays in Two Broke Girls.
That girl.
She's fucking hilarious. But I wanted to throw it out there that I think that the movies are a little underappreciated.
I love Thor.
I totally understand how they're people's least favorite movies, and that's totally cool. But I just wanted to quickly touch on that. That shouldn't even really been a talking point because it doesn't really add anything, but I just want to quickly touch on it. So how about them apples?
I got a number. How about them apples? Sorry, had to.
Yeah, which is funny because what's his name is in that movie? Selvig?
Oh my God.
He's in that movie.
Skarsgård.
Yeah, Alexander. Or is it Alex?
Stellan.
Stellan Skarsgård. Alexander is
True Blood.
Yeah, his son.
Yeah.
I guess.
Stellan Skarsgård is also Bootstrap Bill in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bootstraps. So yeah, there's that. I guess next up on the talking points, I had the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
We can kind of just talk about them a little bit. This talking point was brought to you by Sorry, I wanted to do like a funny like commercial
You did
outtake.
great.
This point came from my good friend Miranda. I'll plug her YouTube channel at the very end. So Andrew, remind me if I don't do that. She said talk about the Infinity Stones. She said that apparently, according to the comic books and the movies, the colors have changed. She said do research on why the colors have changed because she didn't have time to go into the details of why. And guess what? I didn't fucking have time to do research either as to why they changed. But, and I'm not exactly sure how pertinent that information is that the colors have changed between the comic books and the movies. But I guess now you know that the colors have changed from comic books to the movies.
I didn't know that.
We talked a little bit about at the beginning how Avengers Infinity War is basically has been leading up to all these movies about the Infinity Stones. Mm-hmm. We basically seen 5 out of the 6 because there are 6. The only one that we haven't been introduced to so far is the Soul Stone, the orange one. Mm-hmm. Kevin Feige, he said that it will be introduced at some point in time in Phase 3, which would make sense because he said the gauntlet does need to be quote unquote filled. And so it would make sense for us to have all 6 stones before.
You'll probably see it either pop up in one of the next 2 films, or hell, if they have to wait till even the Infinity War movie, maybe he finds that one and gets it. Because, I mean, what should happen is Thanos has his gauntlet and he gets all the fucking stones. That's not going to go well for everyone.
It's going to be very, very terrible, basically.
I think we could talk about the Infinity Stones and also who's gonna die.
Yeah, it might be more of like a who's not going to die.
Because long and short of it, Thanos is gonna end up with all these stones one way or another, and I mean, if you think about it, one of them is straight up in Vision's head, so that's gonna get ripped out of his fucking head,
right?
At some point, not gonna go well for him. And then the other ones are being, the Tesseract the blue one has been taken back to Asgard, so the Asgardians are taking care of that one. The purple one is on the fucking planet at the end of Nova, the Nova Prime or whatever they call it.
Yeah,
that place. It's the purple one's there, and then fucking Doctor Strange just has the green one.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just like, hey,
that's mine.
Come and get it.
It's mine.
Yeah.
You know.
So just quickly go down the list of the ones that we know of so far. There's the Space Stone, which is the blue one. And of course that was housed in the Tesseract.
Yep.
We first saw it in the Thor post-credits scene. And of course it was kind of the kind of thesis of the first Avengers movie. There was the Mind Stone, the yellow one, which was, of course, in Loki's scepter, and now, of course, like Andrew said,
it's temporarily in Vision's head.
Yeah, temporarily right smack dab in his forehead, and we're hoping that dude, we're hoping that he survives because we need him on our team. Then there's the Reality Stone, the red one, which of course we saw in Thor: The Dark World. It was introduced to us as the Ether, and now it is contained in the Reality Stone.
And that's located. The Collector has it.
Yes. Yeah, they were. They decided not to bring it back to Asgard since the Tesseract is already there, and they didn't think that it'd be too great of an idea to have 2 Infinity Stones at the same time.
Don't put them in the same place.
Yeah, yeah. Then there's the Power Stone, the purple one. Pop the purple porpoise. That one, of course, we saw in Guardians of the Galaxy. That's the one.
Or the Guardians of the Galaxy, bitch.
Right. Ronan the Accuser wanted that one. That dude was terrifying.
I actually hated him. But, not in the way that it ruined the movie for me. I just couldn't wait for him to go down.
He was kind of like,
I am the bad guy! Roar! That's all I got out of him. I've got a fucking hammer! And I want power! And you know I'm bad because I have black makeup on.
I
yell a lot!
He really worked for me as a bad guy. He was kind of terrifying, but he was also hilarious because, like it was very anticlimactic how well, I don't want to say the end of Guardians was anticlimactic because it was pretty epic, but of course he's like finally they're like down on the ground after that big battle scene, and you think that he's just about to fucking murk everyone, and you see Star-Lord just fucking start dancing, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Dance off, bro."
That was great.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. It was just an interesting way to mix that up. Anyways, moving on. There's the Time Stone, which is the green one, and we were just Andrew just mentioned that one. That's the one that Doctor Strange has. It's in his little necklace thing.
I think he put it back. Yeah, he put it back on the little pedestal. He's not currently holding it.
Right. Yeah. He put it back because he doesn't want to. I guess doesn't want to constantly walk around with it.
Yeah.
And then of course the sixth one is the Soul Stone we mentioned at the very beginning of this list, and like I said, we'll see that at some point in time. So yeah, that's that for.
So.
For the Infinity Stones.
Our Phase 3 lineup has led us to, I mean, the Infinity Stones are the entire, the collection of the Infinity Stones is our gateway to Avengers Infinity War, which has been they've been building up towards Thanos since the first Avengers movie. When he was he was shown.
Yeah, that was the first time that we saw him because Loki went to he's basically the one that gave Loki his scepter, right?
Thanos empowered the Chitauri army, those alien people, and they're the ones that gave Loki his shit. But Loki didn't see Thanos. Thanos was just shown at the end where the Chitauri got their asses beat and whatever, and they're like, "We're real sorry," and he's like, he just turns his face around.
Yeah.
Thanos has been the behind the scenes motherfucker the entire time since the first Avengers movie. And this will be their final confrontation. You saw in the after credits scene of, I forgot which, I think it's Civil War, where he goes, "Fine, I'll do it myself." When he gets the fucking gauntlet on, it's empty. But he's going to go get his shit back and kill everyone. I mean, so.
And, like, that was one of my main questions was, like, the Avengers, up until that point, they only had people that were like on the ground that, I mean, they could sort of fly up in the air, but how the fuck are they going to defeat this omnipotent badass?
Because not only, I mean, like in versions in the comics and stuff, I mean, he's got 2 legs and arms and shit. I mean, he can walk around. Like, he's just going to show up with this fucking gauntlet on and do terrible things to them.
Right.
And I really, because I know how they've killed him in other versions, I don't know how they're going to do that in this one, which is kind of cool. I have nothing to go by. I don't know what character. It's a little scary.
Let's talk about how well the actors have played their respective roles, because, in my opinion, basically all of them have done just a bang-up job of playing their respective roles. I mean, I don't have a lot to go by, obviously, as far as how they're represented in the comic books, but I mean, all of them are hilarious. I mean, that obviously doesn't automatically make them great characters, but I just think that they all do a phenomenal job at representing the characters and acting.
Oh, it's fantastic, and I'll focus on the newer ones. We know about Cap and Iron Man and all of that, and we've seen
Chris Evans was born to play Captain America.
Period. And seeing how let's just call them the original gangster crew of our Marvel Cinematic Universe team has evolved into what their character types are like right now. So just to keep it with Phase 3, like Black Panther's casting. Fantastic. He does such a great job. I mean, we've only had one movie with him, but he was elegant. He was badass. He was cool, and another great casting choice for him. And then of course,
I just want to look into his eyes all day.
Jesus Christ,
you are a beautiful man.
Tom Holland for Spider-Man,
another great one.
Fantastic. He's just very.
We finally have we're doing a Spider-Man where he's in high school, and the kid that's playing him is actually in high school. We're not trying to pass off someone that's supposed to be in high school that actually graduated high school like 15 years ago.
Yeah. I'm 37 and I'm Spider-Man. I'm 17.
Right.
Yeah,
Which
no,
I mean, you know, Andrew
whatever.
Garfield. You know, he looked young, but
No, like the characters were. I mean, the other Spider-Man played them fine, but I just really like Tom Holland. He did a really good job in Civil War. So those performances have been great. Our Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch, was just fantastic.
He's just awesome with everything that he does.
So they've added to a already stellar cast of people. Thor, Chris Hemsworth is such a great Thor. Robert Downey Jr., who really, I think, honestly, you could probably credit him for a lot of the success of what this whole thing has turned into, because if Iron Man had been a flop, you don't get anything else after that. Not to this level. He's the best part of the entire thing.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know if they did this for sure, but it seems like they cast him, because like Robert Downey Jr. as a person looks like and mirrors Tony Stark to begin with. So you can say that he was born to play Tony Stark / Iron Man. And I feel like once they cast him and they realized what they did, they kind of followed suit with all the other actors. Like, hey, maybe let's try and find actors, one that, you know, the people have some face recognition with, but also, you know, maybe envision these people that, you know, they were born to play this character. Like, you know, that they actually look like this character, that we're not like trying to, you know, stretch things right here
when
to
they're all
make
suited
it fit.
up and look the way that they need to, you're like, yep,
yeah,
that's that thing.
Exactly.
And I really like how, and this was interesting because they had to recast him. Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, or Bruce Banner. I like him better than Edward Norton did in that one.
And I really
liked him too.
Yeah, I enjoyed Edward Norton. I actually never saw the supposedly piece of shit Hulk with
before Eric Bana. It's awful.
Yeah,
it's so bad.
I think I caught maybe like 5 minutes of it when it was on TV, like years after it came out. And I was like, oh, so this is why everyone thinks that it's so dumb. And I just changed the channel to porn or something. But yeah, I thought Edward Norton was great. I think, but I do agree that Ruffalo has been the superior choice so far. He
captures the timidness and the uneasiness of having the Hulk in you. You know, him trying to avoid getting too excited, you know, and how, I like, if you watch him and like the way he's always messing with his hands, and he just always looks a little just uncomfortable in every kind of situation that he's in. And then he brought a real sadness to the Hulk in Ultron, Age of Ultron, when he realized, I gotta get the fuck out of here because I'm a danger to everyone. And it'll be nice to see him again in Thor Ragnarok with his gladiator suit.
Yeah, I'm so excited about that.
That'll be great.
So yeah, that's all awesome. We're glad to see that they're not just you know, guns for hire. That they're actually, it seems like Marvel is very carefully considering who they're choosing for these roles. So that's always good to see.
They're obviously being well directed too, because their performances have been great.
Absolutely. Do you want to talk about like maybe some of the less discussed and less seen characters like Hawkeye and Black Widow?
Well, we've been able to get a little bit more, and I truly do hope we get a Black Widow movie.
Me too.
I want a super espionage spy movie with her. I think that would be fantastic. I don't see Hawkeye getting his own movie.
Me neither. I don't think there's enough there.
He's a great. I mean, he was fantastic. He was the best part of Ultron, of that movie. He was awesome. I loved his whole, and I love that he's just a normal ass dude with the bow and arrow.
Yeah, that was an interesting turn in that movie, is when he comes in and saves them all in, I don't know, he was probably close to the end of Act 2, and he brings them all to his house. And yeah, he's got a wife and a couple kids, and he's just leading a normal ass life. So that was
he's got so much to lose. He's arguably got more to lose and less to fight with, because he is just a really talented archer guy.
Right.
He's not a super spy or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
and that's one of the things that I mean, we could talk about this for a while, but another thing that these Marvel movies do so well is kind of addressing the elephant in the room, so to speak, about how, fucking Iron Man, he has a special suit and he can fly, and Thor is from another world, and Captain America, he is like 98
Enhanced.
years old and
Yeah.
he's enhanced.
Yeah.
But what do Clint and Natasha bring to the table? One's really good with the bow and arrow, and one's really good at hand-to-hand combat. And in that scene where they bring in Ultron, where he brings everyone back to his little house in the woods. Him and his wife have that discussion of like, do they really need me? Like, what do I add to this equation? And it was nice to see that conversation, nice to see them address that issue, because that was also going on in the back of my mind. Like, do they really need this guy? Like, I mean, I want to see him do cool shit and add to, the equation. But I also want to see him be able to hold his own, and it was nice to see them.
I mean, he kicks ass.
Yes, and it was nice to see them. And then I can't remember what movie it is, but it might have been Civil War, where Natasha she just straight up says like, I just know hand to hand combat. Like, you guys can fucking fly around and shit. I'm totally,
This is bullshit.
yeah, this is bullshit. I'm on the ground with the other losers. So yeah, there's that. And the last point was just we kind of touched on this already, but it was just how Guardians of the Galaxy, it kind of that and Doctor Strange were kind of some of the less advertised and less known of the movies, and they just kind of blew up, especially Guardians of the Galaxy. We were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier before the podcast, how both of us knew nothing about Guardians of the Galaxy going in. We saw the trailer one day a couple years ago whenever it came out, and we were just like, this is somehow part of the MCU, and we know nothing about it, but it looks pretty cool, and we just go see it, and it fucking knocks it out of the park.
It's one of my favorite Marvel movies. And,
absolutely.
I put it right there in the top 3.
Yeah.
I don't even know which ones I would pick, but it's up there.
No, it just I feel like it's like your parents' Marvel movie, because there's so much like you obviously it's the movie that you can take your kids to go see and they'll get enjoyment out of it, but there's like so much like adult humor, like the Jackson Pollock joke in there where he goes, your place is a pigsty or whatever, and he goes, oh, you have no clue, like if you had a black light, this place would be like a Jackson Pollock painting. That's like one of my favorite lines from that movie.
The soundtrack, I love the choice of having his childhood
music
soundtrack adds.
It adds.
Yeah, no, it is really great. And it's become, I mean, that soundtrack was downloaded fucking, it blew up iTunes once.
Did it? I didn't.
Oh, yeah. Awesome,
I mean, I'm sure it did.
Awesome Mix Volume 1.
Just crashed the iTunes network. No, I actually, because of the soundtrack, like, my mom really doesn't care about superhero movies. Like, if I wanted to take her to a superhero movie, to a Marvel movie or a Batman movie or whatever, she would come with me. Not like I asked my mom on a lot of movie dates to begin with, but whatever. But because of the soundtrack, like, she really is into she introduced me to this kind of music, like the music that was really popular in the 70s and the 80s. Basically every single song that's in Guardians, she introduced me to. And so I was like, when I watched this movie for the first time, I was like, my mom would get a kick out of this movie if just for the music she'd enjoy it. And so it was cool when, I got to share that movie with her.
I'll say the same thing. My mom is not usually into, big explosion movies. And
did she get a kick out of it?
And she thought it was great because the music she loved it.
Yeah. That's another reason why I say it's your parents' Marvel movie. It's, I mean that as like, it's our movie as opposed to, little kids, but it's good for our parents too, because the music in that movie is the music that they grew up with when, you know, they were teenagers or kids or whatever. So I think it just, the music is definitely part of what made that movie so great. And I'm sure they're going to do the same thing with Volume 2, with the music just being so much of the backbone of the movie. Mm-hmm. So, cool. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Do you have any last thoughts before we?
I don't, but just, I mean, okay, I said I don't yet. I'm going to talk anyway. This lineup is exciting, what we have going forward, and it even adds more questions into what the hell they're going to do when this is all over with. Like, we only got a couple more years of Phase 3, quote unquote. So I'm excited to see what choices they make and what we get out of it, and which actors are going to say, okay, I'm good, I'm done. You know, I don't want to do this. I mean, what happens when Chris Evans or Robert Downey doesn't want to do it anymore? You know, what heroes get pushed to the forefront and become.
I don't even want to think about it. It's going to be sad, happen. But and you're right. It's definitely going to, especially since we've been seeing these changes in the comic books with what the new Iron Man is
a
black
young lady. Yeah,
girl.
She's a genius. She goes to MIT.
Right.
And I think she's like 15, and she's one of those kid geniuses, and she built her own Iron Man suit, and they just made her also Iron Man, which is super cool. Captain America right now, there's 2 of them. Okay. There's Falcon, who becomes Captain America, and then there's Steve Rogers.
Right.
And then
the Winter Soldier in an incarnation becomes Captain America at some point in time, too, right?
He does. After Captain America actually died in Civil War, he became that for a while, but then Steve came back and whatever. So there's, you know, comic book deaths are usually not permanent. So. Right. But anyway, this is just a really fun time to be alive. And be a movie fan and a comic book person. So.
I will basically mirror all of that. They've done a bang up job so far, and I'm very, very excited to see what we get in the future. And of course, we'll be sad whenever we have to inevitably say goodbye to some of these characters, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it will be the end of good Marvel movies. I think they will continue to be good as long as we can avoid things like Fantastic Four.
Well, that's not really theirs. So it's okay.
Yeah. But yeah. So I guess we'll close it out. If you enjoyed listening to us be idiots, please go on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play. And leave us a review. That's actually, if you're looking to help us out in any way that doesn't cost you any money, that is actually the best way to help us out, is to leave us a rating and review on iTunes or Google Play, because it helps our little podcast, which, you know, of course, we're only 7 episodes in, but it will help us get recognized, and, you know, more people, it'll show up as recommended for more people that are looking for geeky type podcasts. So please leave us a rating and review. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, tell your friends about us. If you don't, then that's totally cool. I understand.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not cool.
I totally get it. You don't want me anymore. Fuck. I'm just playing. Another way to help us out is to be active on our social media. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/Geek Garage Podcast. We're on Twitter at Geek Garage Pod. Please holler at us. Tell us what you think about our podcast so far, about some of our episodes. If you have something to weigh in on, please holler at us on social media. If you have an idea for what could make an awesome episode, we are always looking for new, interesting ideas that we want people to listen to. So if you have an idea, please, let us know. Of course, you can find even more information on our website, geekgaragepodcast.com. There we have, silly photos of us that we take on Instagram every time we get together. We have MP3 versions of all our podcasts. So if you'd rather listen to us on our website for whatever reason, you can. I sometimes do blog posts as well, in between recordings, just to kind of keep up appearances, blah, blah, blah. So there's stuff to read there. And there's also our social media links there as well. I did say earlier that I wanted to plug my friend Miranda's stuff. She has a YouTube channel called Go Nerds, and I believe as of right now she's just doing like Let's Play stuff, but it's really awesome, really funny. Please go check it out. Her and her friends that do it, they are amazing. So yeah, go check it out. It's called Go Nerds. I don't think they have a youtube.com/Go Nerds. I don't think they own that. I think if you just go to youtube.com, just type in Go Nerds in the search bar and you will find them. So yeah. But that will do it for this evening. We will see you next time, and hopefully next time we'll have Connor. Actually, I'm recording another episode Friday, I believe. So yeah, be looking forward to this one and then that one later on down the road. So we will see you later.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.